the action plan that we have thought about, which we would like to implement within Electronic City. First is to prepare a policy framework for integrated water management. This policy framework is basically to support the implementation or mandating the usage of treated water, to stop the drawal of groundwater, and mandate that all companies build up adequate storage for rainwater harvesting. And there are not many dead bore wells within Electronic City. See how we could convert these bore wells into injection wells to recharge the groundwater. So we plan to prepare a policy framework covering these aspects. So we're also looking at identifying suitable technology partners for implementation of the policy. So what are we looking at? Basically, we are looking at creation of one software which will be able to keep a complete track of what individual company water requirements are, what is their availability of treated water, what is their availability of rainwater, and what will be the shortfall that ELCITA will have to augment. So we're looking at creating a software which will help us keep a track of this. Now, the roadmap that we have planned and what actions have been completed. Like we had initially set out that by 2025, we should become water positive. So we started activities in 2020. So initially we carried out an assessment. We found out what the preliminary problems were, what are the lower hanging fruit, which issues could be resolved. So in 2020-21, we started off a water journey. We took up a lot of activities for enhancing the infrastructure. We realized that we had a lot of NRW. Our NRW was around 7%. So we looked at ways and means as how we could reduce that NRW with simple actions like installation of air release valves, ensuring that the valves where there's no leakage at the sluice valves and the control valves. We were able to reduce the NRW from 6% to less than 2%. And this has been a steady figure for the last 6 months. We look at various measures, how we can enhance the safety and reliability of various infrastructure that we had, both at the the pump house and at the STPs. And in 21-22, we took up various measures to augment the actions that we had started off. We installed smart water meters across all areas with incoming, the STPs, the BWSSB, and the borewells. Then implementation of a software for smart billing was done by us. Here, as and when water is supplied to a company, the data from the IoTs or the smart meters goes directly to the dashboard. That gets pushed into the software, and the automatic billing happens at the end of the month. And in phase 3 of the water journey, which has been this year, what actions that have been completed are, we have constructed groundwater recharge wells. 197 of them have been completed. We are planning to construct a few more by this end of this year. We are trying to reach a figure of 120 to 125. Upgradation of groundwater recharge wells. We had around 70 to 80 of these bore wells, which were recharge wells, which were dug a few years ago. But we realized the depth of those was not adequate, because the depth of this was just around 20 feet. But we realized that the impervious layer was almost running up to 40 feet. So we had to redesign all the recharge wells and enhance the capacity of the recharging. So we are also planning for a sewage and treated water network within Electronic City. ELCITA, like I told you, has just come into being 9 years ago. But unfortunately, when Electronic City was created, a centralized sewage network was not made. And hence, a lot of companies even now have their septic tanks. So we ELCITA send our sewage tankers to these companies, collect the sewage and transport it to the centralized STPs. And hence, it's a very unsustainable method. So we thought we should now lay sewer lines across the estate to ensure that we are able to take the sewage directly from the companies to the centralized STP. So this planning is in progress, and hopefully we should be able to start the work sometime mid of next year. The plans for the next 2 years. First is to create an integrated water management plan and set up the policy measures. So this is one area where we are actually looking for support. So where people can guide us as to what will be the best policy measures that we could implement to ensure that we have compliance from the companies. We are also planning to install a SCADA system to automate our STPs. Presently, the STPs, we have complete monitoring of the equipment that is being done. Now I'd like to go to the next stage where it becomes completely automatic. Enhance the rainwater harvesting and recharge capacities. Towards this end, we have already concluded a couple of contracts, and we are going to start the work for the rainwater harvesting pits. Also, the committee has now mandated that we can start constructing rainwater harvesting pits within the small company locations. So earlier it was the responsibility of the companies themselves to construct the harvesting pits. But now the committee has given us an approval for constructing this. So work will be starting on this in the coming financial year. So we're also planning to create a policy framework on how we could reduce the demand of fresh water and ensure that companies start using the alternate sources of water. And also looking at how we could enhance the groundwater recharging and create a data pool for water management. Basically, this is required because certain companies have STPs and they're generating a surplus of treated water. That treated water is going unutilized. And there are certain companies within Electronic City which have a shortfall of treated water. So now we are looking at how we could balance this out by ensuring that the treated water surplus which is there in companies can be distributed amongst the companies. And also we're looking at how we could use the recycled water and rainwater for non-potable purposes. So this is the policy framework that we intend creating. So we're looking for people who can guide us and experts who can guide us to make an ideal sort of a policy framework. And in phase 2 of that, 23, 24, we would want to further implement and tighten the policy framework and ensure compliance with the companies. And in phase 3, we now would planning to enhance the water supply infrastructure, which is woefully short in Electronic City. Here, I would like to give you a small brief on what is the problem that we have in terms of infrastructure. Now, the pump house that is being located, it is at one of the lowest points within Electronic City. And the main water source is at an elevated level. So water flows down into our pump house by gravity, and it has to be pumped from our pump house to the respective companies by using pumps and motors. And hence, this is a very, very inefficient method of water supply. So we are looking for a suitable land which is at an elevated location where you can pump up the water into an overhead tank and then resort to gravity supply of water. The critical problem that we have here is LCTA does not have any spare land or open area available within Electronic City. So we're in conversation with various agencies to support us in this initiative. We have got a few promising leads, and if that materializes, we'll be able to install this infrastructure. And hence we have given a target of 24-25 to establish this infrastructure within Electronic City.